Good morning, everyone. I'm the warm-up act for the Premier of Ontario. Premier Ford, thank you for joining us here in Ottawa. It's fantastic to see you again and your team. You know, we are all united. Certainly the Premier and I, we're united in our shared mission to build.
Donald Trump thought he could dictate terms to a subordinate. What he triggered instead was the most confident, unified political counterpunch in modern Canadian history. Today, Prime Minister Mark Carney and Premier Doug Ford didn't just push back, they unveiled a new operational manual for how Canada will deal with a superpower that mistakes chaos for strength. This wasn't diplomacy, this was a strategic realignment, delivered with a calm that was more unnerving than any shout. And it signals a power shift that leaves Washington with a choice it never expected to face. Today, Canada sent a message to Washington unlike anything we've heard in years. And it didn't come from anger, desperation, or panic. It came from confidence. Mark Carney stood there as a leader who knows Canada's worth. He didn't shout, he didn't threaten, he simply laid out a reality that the United States cannot ignore anymore. Canada is essential. Canadian energy powers American cities. Canadian manufacturing supports American jobs. Canadian resources stabilize American industries. This country holds up pillars of the U.S. economy that Trump has been recklessly attacking. And Carney said in the clearest diplomatic language possible, Canada will continue to strengthen North American supply chains. Canada will continue to be a partner. Canada will continue building shared prosperity, but only if the United States behaves like a real ally. No chaos, no punishment politics, no economic bullying. If America wants the benefits of Canada, it must treat Canada as a partner, not as a country to exploit, pressure, or intimidate. That wasn't a plea. That was a line in the sand. I'll give you a concrete example with respect to aluminum, which is that, in effect, Canadian exports of aluminum to the United States saves the United States the equivalent of 10 Hoover dams of electricity. This is just sensible for both countries, but in order for the United States to have those advantages, we need secure market access and we need stable market access, a return to a degree of certainty. So we need a structure that aligns the incentives across both sides of the border, particularly on the American side, that will provide consistency of that market access. There are many opportunities to grow our economies together, and I haven't touched yet on emerging strategic sectors like critical minerals. We're talking about the Ring of Fire today. That is an opportunity first and foremost for the people of Ontario, including Indigenous peoples resident in Ontario. It's an opportunity for Canada. It's a potential opportunity for the United States, but it's not an assured opportunity for the United States. Then Doug Ford stepped in, and this is where the tone shifts from calm diplomacy to raw steel. Ford didn't backpedal, he didn't apologize, he didn't pretend the ad campaign was too much. He looked straight into the political storm and said, yes, the ad worked. Yes, it exposed Trump's hypocrisy. Yes, it shook things in America. And yes, it needed to happen. Ford made it crystal clear Canadians deserve leadership that calls out injustice, not leadership that bows to it. He applauded Canadians for standing firm, and he defended the campaign as necessary, bold, and effective. But here is the moment that truly matters. Ford respectfully acknowledged Carney. He admitted that he can be aggressive because Carney has to sit directly across from Trump, negotiate face-to-face, and carry the responsibility of maintaining stability while defending Canada with strength. That's not rivalry. That's teamwork at a national level. Ford plays offense. Carney plays strategy, and together they create pressure Trump has never faced from Canada before. Well, number one, that was the best ad that's ever been run. 12.4 billion views. We wanted to bring it to the attention of the American people. And to be very frank, it was President Trump. If he didn't comment on it, rather than 12.4 billion views, it might be 12.4 people viewing it. But in saying that, our intention was to bring it to the attention of the American people through the greatest president that ever lived. That was Ronald Reagan. Protectionism does not work. We're their number one customer, they're our number one customer. We need to work together. President Trump came out the first day and said, if I was Canada, I'd run the ad too. And the little bird whispered in his ear, and the next day things changed. You know something? I'm in a very different position than the Prime Minister. I respect the Prime Minister. He has to sit in front of President Trump. It's easy for me to sit back and say that, and it's a lot more difficult when you're the front line guy that's negotiating with them. That's how I feel. We did it at a fraction of a cost, and my goodness, it not people's attention. Simple as that. So it was a great ad. Just follow up, Premier, since you're there. I mean, Prime Minister Carney kind of made a face when you said it was the greatest ad. It was? I'll maybe get him to weigh in on that as well. But by not backing down, are you putting your own interests ahead of people in the sector? In what sector? I believe you just can't roll over. I'm in a different position. I'm not speaking for the Prime Minister. I'm speaking for the people of Ontario. We're getting hit the most out of any single province in this entire country. He's attacking our steel industry, attacking our automotive sector, attacking our manufacturing, our pharmaceutical, our life sciences. I'm not going to sit back and roll over and not fight back to protect the people and their jobs of Ontario. It's as simple as that. That's my job, to protect the people of Ontario. I'm going to continue fighting to make sure we get a fair deal with the U.S. I can tell you one thing, I'm going down to sign a deal with the governor in New York tomorrow. I can tell you, I talk to governors almost every week, almost every single day. A senator or congressperson, Republican or Democrat. Even Republicans say they don't agree with the deal, but they're too scared, except 4 of them that crossed the floor to vote with the Democrats about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I'm going to fight like I've never fought before to protect the communities in Ontario, protect their jobs, and protect the people. It's as simple as that.
Then came the statement that truly redefines Canada's position. When the United States tries to impose demands, when it tries to dictate what Canada should change, drop, or sacrifice, Carney didn't flinch for even a second. He said what every Canadian wanted to hear and what Trump needed to hear. Canada will protect its supply chains. Canada will defend supply management. Canada will prioritize Canadian workers, Canadian industries, and Canadian stability before satisfying any U.S. demand. That's sovereignty. That's leadership. And that's independence in action. This wasn't emotional. This wasn't loud. This was a prime minister saying, we will work with you, but we will never surrender control of our economy to you. Canada is willing to negotiate, collaborate, and strengthen North America, but Canada will not kneel. Prime Minister Mark Carney, what do you think of the series of conditions that the U.S. trade rep says Canada has to meet in order to extend CUSMA, including bolstering market access to U.S. dairy and addressing the provincial bans on U.S. alcohol? Does this make you feel more encouraged or discouraged about reaching an agreement with U.S. President Donald Trump? And Premier Ford, if you could weigh in afterwards, please. Well, I'll put this in context. These are a subset of issues of a much bigger discussion. We've been clear about our approach to supply management. We continue to stand by that. We'll continue to protect supply management, and we continue to see tremendous benefits, first and foremost for Canada, but very much for the United States, of resources where possible in the auto sector, in the steel sector, in the aluminum sector, in the lumber for forest products, and we will enter those discussions on the review of CUSMA. And then Doug Ford brought everything together like only he can. He reminded Canadians exactly what Trump is doing, attacking our steel, targeting our automotives, threatening our manufacturing, trying to inflame economic fear. Trump's strategy has always been the same: overwhelm, intimidate, destabilize, and hope the other side collapses under pressure. But Ford's response today was pure defiance. He said, Canada will not slow down, Canada will not panic, and Canada will not retreat. Instead, Ford celebrated this agreement with Carney as a shield and a weapon at the same time, strengthening Canada, speeding up development, forcing the economy forward, and building the kind of resilience that makes Trump's pressure weaker every single day. This isn't survival. This is offense.
As we continue to stare down President Trump's tariffs and ongoing economic uncertainty, I'm just so pleased to be here today with Prime Minister Carney to celebrate a true milestone on our mission to unleash our economy, create jobs, and build nation-building projects. When Prime Minister Carney took office, he promised to do things differently. He promised to work with provinces and territories to eliminate federal duplication so we can get shovels in the ground sooner to create jobs and opportunities for workers in every part of this country. Today, Prime Minister Carney has kept his promise. And Prime Minister, I want to thank you on behalf of the people of Ontario and on behalf of the people of Canada. It's a time when President Trump is taking direct aim at our economy. Every second counts. We need to move at speeds we've never seen before to build a more competitive, more resilient, and self-reliant economy. Together, we're creating new opportunities for Canadian workers in every part of the country. As Premier, I've had the privilege to sign agreements, cut red tape, and tear down the barriers to trade with nearly every Canadian province and territory, unlocking $200 billion in growth. And I'm proud to be standing beside Prime Minister Carney today for our biggest accomplishment to date. Friends, we're always stronger when we work together, and together we're going to build great things and keep the true north strong and free. I want to thank the Prime Minister for his collaboration and cooperation, but these are the things we have to move against President Trump and the real world. We have to move faster, quicker, immediate, and you can't duplicate everything. We work together and led by the First Nations, which we have a phenomenal relationship with, and we're going to start moving forward. Two things Americans want and the world wants. They want our critical minerals, better known as rare earth minerals down there, and they want our energy. That's the common theme down there. And we're leading the G7 in nuclear, small modular reactors, but we're leading the world in nuclear, clean, green, reliable energy. So we're going to build on that, and our critical minerals are going to get them out of the ground. And that's the real story here. Trump is no longer dealing with a divided Canada. He is no longer facing hesitant leadership. He is no longer up against uncertainty. He is now up against a prime minister who is strategic, steady, calculated, and unshakable. A premier who is fearless, loud, unapologetic, and refuses to bend. A country that has finally realized its power and is choosing to use it. When Doug Ford and Mark Carney stand shoulder to shoulder like this, it does more than reassure Canadians. It terrifies Washington because Trump isn't just facing pushback anymore. He's facing a united, confident, economically fortified Canada that refuses to be bullied. And this time, Canada isn't reacting to Trump. Canada is shaping the future. Stay with Canada today because this story is only just beginning. What we witnessed today was not merely a strong response, it was the operationalization of a new Canadian doctrine. For years, the U.S.-Canada relationship was defined by managed interdependence. Today, Mark Carney and Doug Ford articulated a doctrine of assertive interdependence. The core tenet is simple. We acknowledge our mutual need, but we will weaponize our indispensability. Carney's calm recitation of how Canadian aluminum saves the U.S. 10 Hoover dams of electricity wasn't a fun fact, it was a ledger entry. It quantified dependency. Ford's defiance wasn't just bluster, it was the political will enforcing that ledger. They executed a perfect good cop, bad cop strategy on a national scale, but with a critical twist. Both cops are fundamentally on the same team, reading from the same strategic playbook. Carney establishes the unassailable, data-driven high ground of mutual benefit. Ford then mobilizes the political and emotional capital to defend that ground with unapologetic force. This breaks the old cycle where U.S. pressure would seek out and exploit divisions between Ottawa and the provinces, or between political factions. Trump now faces a unified front where the technocrat and the populist are aligned on the core strategic objective: sovereignty through strength, not supplication. The message to Washington is no longer, please stop. It is, your chaos is a cost we will no longer subsidize. Your stability is now a prerequisite for our partnership. Canada has stopped defending a relationship and started defining the terms of its continuation. This is the sound of a middle power not just finding its voice, but strategically amplifying it to dictate the frequency of the entire conversation. This is Professor Elara Newton. Subscribe for analysis on the power shifts that reshape our world.